My modeling career took a hit when my client called me ordinary. I was desperate to change my face. That's when I found Dr. Ramirez. The clinic was 40 minutes from Cartagena, down a road that went from asphalt to dirt. The whole way, the Uber driver kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror as if waiting for me to bolt. When we finally stopped in front of the squat concrete building with tinted windows, he cut the engine, turned around, and mumbled a warning in Spanish. Stepping into the clinic, I was immediately enveloped by the stench of bleach. There was only one other patient. He was swaddled in bandages from head to toe, so still I doubted he was even breathing. The receptionist slid a stack of consent forms in Spanish across the counter, and after scrawling my name, she led me to Dr. Ramirez. At first glance, he looked rather repulsive. He was wearing a metal helmet for God knows what reason. "Change and put on the gown. The anesthetist will be here soon," Dr. Ramirez said in a gravelly voice. I should have left immediately, followed my gut, but I didn't. Once in the gown and lying on the operating table, two people emerged wearing Halloween masks, a clown and a pig. "Wait, what the hell is this?" I tried to sit up, but hands pushed me down. "Relax, they're just here to help me." Dr. Ramirez entered with a sickening smile. His eyes were gleaming with joy, as if he'd been waiting for this moment for a long time. The pig mask snickered behind him. The clown clamped a hand over my mouth while the man in the pig mask was fumbling for something. I was held down firmly on the table by two others. Dr. Ramirez hovered over my stomach, ready to cut me open. His gloved hands were twitching, as if he couldn't wait to make the incision. "Hurry, sedate him," Ramirez growled, irritated. But before he could inject me, my hand shot up and knocked over the instrument tray. I grabbed the first thing I could, a scalpel, and wildly struck Dr. Ramirez. I cut a deep gash into his arm. I then kicked out at the only light source above my head, shattering the bulb and plunging the room into darkness. Dr. Ramirez and his crazy assistants sank into total chaos. I was crawling across the floor in the dark, using my hands to find the door when I heard a child crying. I scrambled out into the dark hallway. I could still hear the chaos coming from that room. I spotted another room to my left and, to my surprise, found this little girl, about 10 years old, sobbing in a corner. She was terrified. I asked her what she was doing here. The poor kid told me she was an orphan and Dr. Ramirez had taken her from her foster parents. Not just illegal operations, this clinic was sinking deeper into the world of crime. I couldn't leave without the child. I scooped her up and hit her head against my chest to shield her from the trauma to come. "Are they gone?" "I don't know, honey. But we're leaving, okay? The doctor said my foster parents took money to send me here." Her voice broke, and my throat tightened. Knowing her foster parents had handed her over to a monster like Ramirez for money made me even angrier. She looked up, her eyes wet. "Do you promise not to leave me?" "I swear it," I said, squeezing her hand tight. "Not until we see daylight." With no phone, I couldn't call the cops. The only solution was to run and escape this hell. I could hear them coming through the door, my eyes scanning everywhere, looking for a hiding place. There were garbage bins lined against the wall, but most were overflowing with bloody rags and tubes. I finally spotted one that was empty. I put the child in it, covered her with rags, and told her to be quiet. I slipped into another one right next to it, avoiding any sudden movement that might give away my presence. I closed the lid just as their footsteps exited out the back door. The air inside stank of rust and bleach, and I could hear the boots crunching on the gravel outside. He couldn't have gone far, and he took the kid, Ramirez yelled. I held my breath, praying he wouldn't check the bin. The flashlight swept over the bin, casting flickering spots of light inside. I didn't breathe, didn't move. I prayed until everything went blurry and darkness enveloped me. I pushed the lid open gently and sneaked out, listening. The little girl was still hiding, trembling under the bloody rags. I called her name, and she lifted her head. We waited a good minute before moving. I remembered the generator humming earlier. It was coming from the back. That meant there was likely a service exit nearby. We crawled down the hallway, stepping over broken glass and trails of blood. The operating room door was ajar. I could see Ramirez inside, yelling at his men. They all thought we had run away. We found the emergency door and ran toward the road until the lights disappeared behind us. Finally, a man in a pickup truck found us and drove us to the police station. We tipped off the cops, and the little girl's foster parents were arrested. They didn't find Ramirez at his clinic. They already knew the police would be looking for me, so he and his men had fled. 2 months have passed since that incident. I'm working a normal job. I saw Lucia at her new foster home last week. She's much happier and loved there. Honestly, I don't regret going to Ramirez's clinic. Without it, God knows what they would have done to Lucia. I'm sure Ramirez was stealing organs under the guise of surgery and selling them on the black market. Wherever he is, I hope he gets caught before he destroys more lives. It had been a week since I broke up with Rafael, my boyfriend of 7 years, when the softball hit me in the face at 100 kilometers per hour during our company's charity game. I heard the crunch before I felt the pain and saw the blood. I had lost my nose and cheekbone. The emergency room doctor said I needed immediate surgery. My insurance approved Dr. Valdez, a facial reconstruction specialist with excellent credentials. He kept saying I was lucky to get him on such short notice. What happened after is a blur. I signed forms without really reading them, agreeing to things I didn't understand. But I remember the calm voice of the anesthetist telling me to count backward from 10. I made it to 3 before everything went black. I didn't wake up to the usual post-op pain. The pain was sharp, almost alive, as if something was tearing my skull from the inside. I tried to open my eyes to scream, but I couldn't. My body was completely paralyzed, yet I was fully conscious, and I could feel and hear everything. Pass me the small scalpel and remind me what he wanted to change. Everything, the assistant explained. The nose, the cheekbones, and the jaw, even the orbital bones. He sent AI modified versions of her face and wants them to look exactly like those images. Him? Panic shot through every nerve. Someone had paid to replace my face, without my consent. I tried to move and scream, but my body wouldn't respond. I felt the burn on my skin, the sound of tearing, and warm liquid running down my cheeks. He's very particular about paying extra for the extra work. But that's illegal, isn't it? She didn't consent to all of this. Her form mentions necessary corrections during the surgery. Legally, we're covered, and he paid us. I felt desperate and helpless, trying to move. I focused all my willpower on my right hand, but nothing happened. How much longer? Another 2 hours, maybe 3. We're essentially rebuilding her entire facial structure. I couldn't stand them cutting up my face, filing down my bones, and transforming me according to their sick fantasies anymore. And the pain kept getting worse. I felt them working on my cheekbone, the vibration of the saw against the bone. Every nerve in my face was screaming, but I couldn't make a sound. Then my finger twitched, and my hand jerked. She's constant without the ball, doctor. Give her more propofol. A cold liquid hit my fore, but I fought with all my strength. And suddenly, my eyes snapped open. The surgical lights blinded me. Through the glare, I could see Dr. Valdez, his face stunned above mine, scalpel still in hand. I had a breathing tube down my throat, making it impossible to scream, but I thrashed violently. She's awake. His assistant grabbed my shoulders, but adrenaline burned through the paralysis. I ripped the tube from my throat, feeling it scrape all the way out as I screamed. I grabbed the instrument tray and sent them flying. Metal clattered everywhere, taking both of them by surprise. I rolled off the table and hit the floor hard. My face was on fire. Hot blood flowed down my neck. Melissa, stop. You need to calm down. I crawled toward the door. My legs were giving out beneath me, but I kept going. Somehow, I reached the door, pulled it open, and stumbled into the hallway. 2 nurses saw me, covered in blood, with half my face bandaged and the other half raw. They started screaming. Call security. Call the police. I collapsed on the spot. My screams brought more people running. They surrounded me, trying to figure out what had happened as I struggled. My gown was soaked in blood. My face was half done, one side bandaged, the other side raw flesh and exposed bone. I tried to speak, but my jaw wasn't working right. Security held Dr. Valdez against the wall. His assistant was crying, saying she was just following orders. Someone called the emergency services while another surgical team rushed me to a different operating room. As they sedated me, I heard Dr. Valdez screaming that I had signed the consent forms and everything was legal. When I woke up hours later, a police officer was waiting by my bed. My face was now properly bandaged. The pain was dulled by the medication. They had done their best to repair the damage, but the doctor's expression said it all. The officer explained how hospital security had seized Dr. Valdez's phone and found messages from Rafael, transfer confirmations, and dozens of my photos modified with AI filters. Unlike my real face, the AI version had a sharper jawline, high cheekbones, and a perfectly straight nose, like on Snapchat. He had hired someone to throw the ball at my face and bribed staff to assign me to Dr. Valdez. As soon as we broke up, he set everything in motion. I knew he was controlling and obsessive. That was partly why I broke up with him, but I never imagined he would be this insane. The anesthetist said I shouldn't have woken up. The drugs in my system should have kept me asleep for hours, but my body metabolized them faster, or the terror took over. If I had stayed unconscious for 2 more hours, the changes would have been permanent, and I would have woken up as Raphael's AI-filtered girlfriend. Raphael got 15 years. Dr. Valdez, 20 years. I underwent 6 months of corrective surgeries to repair the damage. My face will never be the same, but it belongs to me. The worst part isn't the scars or the trauma. It's that for 2 hours, I was conscious but paralyzed while my identity was being erased because being human and real was too much for him. And there are many like them out there, living and waiting. Regan had always been the popular girl in our school, flaunting her beautiful blonde hair and seductive smile. Everyone called her Barbie, and she wore the title like a crown. We were co-captains of the cheerleading squad, which meant she saw me as a threat and tried to make my life miserable whenever possible. She outshone me in everything, but what drove her crazy was my naturally fair skin and slim figure, assets she couldn't have without spending a fortune. So, when she disappeared for 2 weeks during winter break, the rumors started immediately. Barbie Regan had gotten cosmetic surgery, and the results were going to blow everyone away. But when Regan walked into the room that morning, she seemed to want to disappear, with enormous glasses hiding half her face, a surgical mask over her nose and mouth, and her blonde hair pulled forward. She moved stiffly and awkwardly, as if she was in pain everywhere. Things escalated when a teacher asked her to remove her glasses and mask. Regan's entire body stiffened. She mentioned a medical certificate, but when asked to show it, she seemed lost. Regan was fumbling in her bag when Tyler, another student, burst out laughing at the back of the class. He mocked her in front of everyone. Regan just stood there, completely frozen. Even with her huge sunglasses, I could see she was panicking. By lunchtime, everyone was calling her botched Barbie. Someone had made a TikTok comparing her cheerleading photos to botched plastic surgeries. Within an hour, there were dozens of them. I won't lie, a part of me enjoyed it. After years of making other girls cry, it felt like karma was finally catching up to her. By practice time, Regan was gone. Coach Stevens said she had gone home sick. I ended up staying late to master a new routine. I finished around 5 or 5:30 p.m., when all the school premises were empty. I was in the shower when I heard the locker room door slam, so loud that the sound echoed off the tiles. "Hello?" I shouted, turning off the water. But I only heard the dripping water and the hum of the neon lights. I grabbed my towel and stepped out. Suddenly, I heard that familiar voice in the distance. It was Regan. "You enjoy other people's misery, don't you, Natalia?" She emerged from behind a row of lockers, still wearing her sunglasses and that mask. "Regan, you all made my life a joke." My stomach nodded. "Regan, I didn't mean to." She was trembling, her hands clenched into fists. The light flickered, and I could see she was crying behind her glasses. I took a step forward but stopped dead. Regan suddenly took off her glasses, and I nearly screamed. Her eyes were completely abnormal. Red and swollen, as if a blood vessel had burst in her head. She still kept that mask on, though. I wouldn't have had to do it if you weren't there flaunting that perfect skin. The surgeon said I could see her, and that's all I wanted. She lowered her mask, and I was horrified. Her entire face was covered in rashes and stitches. In places, her skin was peeling off, revealing fresh wounds. Her nose was so bizarre that I struggled to recognize Regan. Her lips were swollen as if stung by 1,000 bees. She started walking towards me with pure hatred. Regan, I'm sorry. Everyone is making fun of me because of you. I hadn't noticed that Regan was holding scissors in her hand. Regan, put that down. The boys say I look like a monster, that I should disappear, that no one will ever love me. So if I'm a monster, I might as well act like one. She lunged at me, and I barely managed to dodge. The scissors plunged into the locker where my head had just been. Regan, stop. Her scarred face twisted in rage. I grabbed my gym bag and swung it at her. She hit me on the side, causing me to stumble. I ran, but the locker room was too small. She was right behind me, panting. The scissors clicked constantly. If I can't be pretty, neither can you. I reached the door, but it was locked. She grabbed my hair and yanked me backward. She dragged me to the ground, and I saw the scissors lift toward my face. I raised my arm, and the blade pierced through it in one go. I felt it slicing through my skin and muscles, the warm blood flowing quickly. When the pain hit, I screamed, but I had to escape before she killed me. I elbowed her in the eye, and she fell, suffering. I didn't wait. I fled, leaving a trail of blood behind me. Coach Stevens found me in the hallway, crying and bleeding, and called for help. The police arrived with the paramedics. They found Regan in the locker room, sitting with her scissors, rocking back and forth and whispering about being pretty. I'm at the hospital now, waiting for them to finish stitching up my arm. The doctor said I was lucky. An inch more, and she would have hit an artery. It took 23 stitches. The police said Regan is being taken to a psychiatric hospital. Her lawyers will likely say she had a breakdown due to the bullying and the botched surgeries. Maybe she wasn't in her right mind, but I know she's not the only one at fault. We also made fun of her without thinking about the effect it would have on her. I just hope she gets the help she needs. And for those who think surgery is the answer, think carefully, because many fake surgeons are ruining lives in the name of beauty.